Good morning. This is the 8th meeting of Senate Education Committee. As usual for this committee, if you want to speak against a bill, you need to sign up at the back. That will be collected, and you can speak. If you do not sign up, you will not be allowed to speak in the committee. Please silence your cell phones. No signs are allowed in the committee room. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll, Senator Funke Frommeyer, Senator Givens, Senator Higdon, Senator Meredith, Senator Neal, Senator Stivers, Senator Thomas, Senator Tishner, Senator Wilson, Senator Wise, Vice Chair Williams, Chair West.
Here. We have a quorum duly constituted to conduct business. Do any members have introductions at this time? Senator Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to ask these folks to stand up and be recognized. I got Superintendent Mark Martin, Susan Vackler, and Crystal Tate from the Meade County School System. And before we recognize them, Mr. Chair, very early on in the session, I mentioned that Dr. Martin would be sending folks from Meade County School System up here each and every week of our legislative session to learn how the process works. And this is kind of the culmination of that. But I think it's been a great experience for me. I hope it has been for them. But he just wanted to let people know how the system works up here. And I really appreciate they're making the trip from Meade County each and every week up here. But if you would, please welcome them to our committee meeting.
Senator Funke Frommeyer.
Yes, I wanted to acknowledge we have 3 of our educators from our Port Thomas Independent School System, and they are tremendous advocates for their students and for their teaching profession, and I just wanted to welcome them and acknowledge them.
Seeing no further introductions, we'll get right into the agenda. We're going to have to move fairly quickly. We have a pretty tight space, about an hour, and we've got 5 bills to cover in that hour. First up, we have Senate President Stivers has 2 joint resolutions. Whenever you're ready, state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and individuals who are in the audience. I'm Robert Stivers, the state senator from the 25th Senate District and president of the Kentucky State Senate. At your direction, you will tell me which joint resolution you wish to proceed with, Mr. Chairman.
132.
All right, thank you, sir. Both of these are a direct outgrowth of Senate Joint Resolution 98. As I've said often, and you all probably get tired of hearing, I was actually here when we did all this some 27 years ago, and it was time to review the way we deliver higher education after that reform of the extraordinary session of 1997, called by then Governor Paul Patton. The resolution called for several things for the Council on Post-Secondary Education, our coordinating body, to look at. One of them was the region of Kentucky, for which I have stated, and many of my predecessors from the region have stated, has lacked access to higher education. The study was done by the Council on Post-Secondary Education, which created even more questions. And so I believe this is the process to ultimately get to a policy consideration. This is not policy. This is a process to see what the appropriate policy should be. And so this sets out a series of things related to management or governance, the potential one-time costs, the potential recurring costs, the impacts, the course offerings. As you get to governance, it's a little bit different than model of the institution, because the institution or the area has been identified by the CPE as the hazard area. And you know that it was going to be cost prohibitive to start something from scratch anew. So what would happen to programs that may be more traditionally technical versus those of baccalaureates? There was something in the realm that we created the Center for the Mountains, University Center of the Mountains, which was several people, including, I think at one time, Campbellsville, who may still be there center-wise, doing various course offerings with other institutions from around the state. But these questions need to be asked. It is not really the function of us, but what we have statutory delegated to the Council on Post-Secondary Education to ask further questions. And this would be a joint resolution that would have to be adopted by the House, and I see our House Education Committee Chair here, that will look at this hopefully. But all I am requesting is the directive of CPE to further look at this and bring back to us the recommendations and the feasibility of recommendations, because that has to be something we consider in anything we do. And that is the purpose of this joint resolution.
Senator Thomas.
President Stivers, I'm obviously in favor of both your joint resolutions, but as I just indicated, I think this week on the Senate floor when we were passing Senate Joint Resolution 197 by Senator Givens, I knew this subject was going to come up. And in my mind, wouldn't it make more sense to fold all these resolutions together as we do a comprehensive examination of our state universities this year through that task force? I mean, let's put everything on the table, it seems to me, and look at, what kind of graduate programs we're going to give them. Look at, what kind of tranches of money that we're going to use to fund special projects. To look at, do we or should we have a 4 university in Eastern Kentucky? Wouldn't it make more sense to just put all this together and study this over the course of the interim?
Mr. Chairman, do not want to respond without proper recognition.
Please proceed.
Senator Thomas, I can argue either side of it, but I'm a lawyer. I'm paid to do that. But truly, I can see that. But I think what it does on issues, and not to conflate them, gives clear direction. But there would be the possibility of clear direction within one resolution. But I think these are just specific to them, and either way I think would be appropriate. But I think but to the reason I went this way, and I think as we talk about Senator Givens's resolution, I think it gives distinction and priority when you kind of break them all out in separate resolutions.
Seeing no further questions, we have a motion and we have a second. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Funke Fromeyer. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Stivers.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams. Senator Wilson. Senator Wise. Chair West.
Senator Neal is here and cast an aye vote. That's what, Mr. President, do you want to do consent?
Our most valued commodity right now is time, so that would be a wonderful thing to do.
Senate Joint Resolution 132 has passed with favorable expression. We will now take a motion for consent. We have a motion for consent from Senator Williams, second from Senator Wilson. Please call. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 132 is on consent. Next up, Senate Joint Resolution 179. Floor is yours.
I'm not going to speak unless appropriately recognized. This again is an outgrowth of Senate Joint Resolution 98, but there are other influences within this with influences that have been put to our attention or brought to my attention and others' attention about the need for further look at the KCTCS. At the time we passed Senate Joint Resolution 98, there was a certain sense of uneasiness and uncertainty as to who the next president would be, what would the direction be. There were several audits that were coming out. There were Senate Joint Resolution 98 that had come out, a Huron study that had come out. But upon discussions with various people and individuals in the institutions, and understanding that with the head of the institution being there, that several questions were brought up by both he as the head of that institution, but the Council on Post-Secondary Education. So this is a collaborative effort, driven, and something that is there to look at, again, various aspects with no preconceived notion as to what it would look like. I feel that President Thompson is a neutral and fair arbiter, and this is another directive to him to look at the KCTCS scenario, to come up with, again, series of recommendations to see if we are getting what we hope to get from, and using our resources in the most efficient and productive way. This was, again, an outgrowth of something that happened in 1997, Senator Neal, and I see two of the three people, or all three of us, are actually on this panel that were here at that time. But we need to have a strong KCTCS, and this looks at all those issues about accreditation, governance, program, duplication, everything in there, and has the CPE come back to us with recommendations about what potential changes there are. It is detached, it's neutral, it's not the president. It is this entity who was empowered to do this some 28 years ago by the General Assembly in our institutional role as the policymakers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Funky Fromeyer has a question.
Mr. President, thank you so much for reflecting on this in more depth. In Northern Kentucky, we have the Gateway Community and Technical College, but my Senate district that includes Campbell County, Bracken County, Pendleton County. So when I look at kind of the influence of some of the online programs, but also the dual credit offerings, will this also dig in deeper to where we don't necessarily have a physical building that exists, KCTCS, in those three counties, but we have the ability to participate in the dual credit? Will this deal with some of the online learning options and those as well?
You know, and Senator Fromeyer, that's something that we discussed in the Joint Resolution 98, that the online offerings and actually remote working, remote learning weren't even envisioned to the extent they are today. And I think this is very much fertile ground for the CPE to look at, because I think, and I have to go back, academic programming's, trainings, offerings, you know, how they're offered, the quality, the credentials. Also, I believe there is a provision in there that talks about the number of campuses, dual credits, but I think that's all part of what you would look at. Some programs should be in-person, direct, but there are a lot of programs that could be done by remote offerings.
Please proceed.
Interesting. We also are recognizing the vocational school, the value, again, of having more access to plumbing, HVAC, some of what our community colleges have strengthened. But again, we don't have a facility in Campbell, Pendleton, Bracken for that. But is there maybe an expansion of this that we could coordinate with our high school facilities to offer evening school in those facilities through the community and technical colleges? Is that something? And we can talk offline about this further, but I was immediately questioned yesterday by KCTCS about why did I feel the need to pass the bill on licensure access for students in private schools.
Again, Senator, thank you for the question. I think it's a really good question, and I do this quite often, and I have a certain sense of pride in my children. But I have one who is a master's level biomedical engineer, and I have one who went through the technical system. And both of them make a whole lot more money than their dad does. So, at least in this job. But, you know, that's
a low bar.
It is, but people just don't know that. But, you know, having access to the appropriate facilities and the ability to do the programs, and you understand as well as anybody that there has to be that in person. You can't really twist a pipe unless you're handling the pipe in the facility. But there are many programs that could be done online. There could be coordination between what we call the LAVEX, the ATCs, and KCTCS, which teach those programs. Again, all this, I believe, is something that needs to be looked at in the delivery, because for whatever has gone on since the spring of 1997, accessibility, and sometimes there may be the need to consolidate. If you're offering a program and only have 10 people going to school and spending millions of dollars, maybe that needs to be consolidated more into a regional program. But accessibility, affordability, the offerings should all be part of the review, and that was the initial charge in 1997.
Seeing no further questions, we have a motion on the resolution from Senator Wilson. We have a second from Senator Funky Fromeyer. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Stivers.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams. Senator Wilson. Senator Wise. Chair West.
Aye. Senate Joint Resolution 179 passes with favorable expression unanimously. Do we have a motion for consent? Is it in order, Mr. President? Do we have a motion for consent? Senator Williams made the motion. We have a second from Senator Wilson. All those in favor of putting SJR 179 on consent say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 179 is on consent. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for your time and consideration.
Next up, we have House Bill 162, an act relating to mathematics education. Education Chair James Tipton is with us today. We'll be sharing two bills here in a row. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Tipton, state your name for the record and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. James Tipton, State Representative, House District 53. I'm very honored to have the opportunity here to present House Bill 162 to you today. If you've read through this bill, it may look familiar to a lot like Senate Bill 9 that was sponsored by Chair West back in 2022, the Read to Succeed bill. Attended the Council for State Government South Conference this summer. One of the presentations talked about the state of Alabama passed a numeracy bill last year. I know the chair and I discussed that, got to talking about, and if you think about education, if we're going to build a strong foundation of education in our children, I truly believe that starts with a strong foundation in reading and math. And I think from that, if our children have those strong foundations, and they can succeed, they have the opportunity to succeed as they continue their education and as they go throughout life. House Bill 162. I'm just going to read one of the opening paragraphs. Mathematics proficiency is essential for all Kentucky students to achieve the academic goals established KRS 158.6451. If you haven't read that one for a while, it's a good read. It is Kentucky's goal that all children have the skills necessary to demonstrate procedural skill and fluency, building from conceptual understanding to an application in order to solve real-world problems. Well, how does House Bill 162 go about addressing that? A couple of different, three main components. First, it would direct KDE to establish math academies, coaching models. If funds are available, and I haven't had a chance to look at that Senate budget yet, but I'll be looking for that. And I will say that
It's not the last step in the process.
I understand. The fiscal note on that, on this bill, is $5 million in each year of the biennium, and then $10 million upon full enactment of the bill. So I just wanted to point that out so you're aware of it. But it provides these models so that our teachers are getting the high quality, evidence-based professional development in how to teach mathematics, providing training coaches to help teachers in the classroom as they go forward, and helping improve that. So that's a big component of the bill. There's also an opportunity, if the funds are appropriated, for grants to be made available to schools to apply for grants for high quality instructional resources dealing with mathematics education. There's language in there about how that grant would work and go through. The second component of the bill is very similar to what the approach taken in Senate Bill 9 with reading. Every school district from K through 3 within the first 30 days would have a universal screener that the children would go through to evaluate if they are having difficulties or problems in math. For those children who are identified, the next step in the process is a diagnostic assessment, and the teachers would be required to be trained in these screeners and these diagnostic assessment tools so that they could identify the specific needs and provide the appropriate interventions. And there would be a plan put in place. It includes parents and others on a team to help that child succeed. And that part of the plan was pushed out 1 year to the 26-27 school year. I have not talked to an educator or anybody who has told me this is bad education policy, but there have been some concerns about getting the teachers trained properly, so we pushed that out a year to give another year for the high quality instruction to take place and to give schools an opportunity to participate in this. There's also the Math Achievement Committee is restructured, and they're directed to come back to the General Assembly by May 1st, 2025 with any recommendations they have. There's also a post-secondary education component in this to try to align what's happening with our school system with post-secondary education, and it would require all the teachers to have complete a math assessment before they are certified. Be happy to entertain any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Co-Chair Tipton. Senator Thomas is up first.
Representative Tipton, I am so glad you brought this bill because it's very much needed, and it is a necessary complement to what we did last year with Read to Achieve. And I attended that same CSG conference that you referenced in your opening remarks. And something that was said at that conference has always resonated with me. I remember the speaker talking about individuals who have problems with simple mathematical computations. And they might say, oh, you know, math was a tough subject for me. I just never got it. And she said, when someone says that, we always want to give them a pass when they make that comment. But if that same person were to say, you know, in speaking, you know, I never quite got language. I don't really know how to conjugate verbs, and I misuse pronouns, and I can't read. We would be appalled at someone, an adult, making that comment. And she said, so why is it that we always want to give people passes on math, but yet if they can't read, we think that something's wrong and have a problem there? And she said, the point is that math is just as important in everyday life as language. And we should take that attitude when it comes to math. And she was absolutely right. So again, I applaud you for doing this because we should take the view that people who can't do math, there's something wrong there just as much as people who can't read, and make sure that we have, you know, competent understanding and comprehension in both literacy and math. So thank you for bringing this bill. Thank you.
Senator Tishner.
Thank you, Representative Tipton, for this bill. You know, I'm questioning why the screening is only K through 3, and I'm concerned about the older grades of students that might be left behind as we focus in. And this is kind of an issue too when I look at literacy and how do we fix those older kids who right now might be in the system who didn't get what they needed in K through 3 to get those basic skills. Is there a reason you're focusing on K through 3 and not broadening that to 4 through 8th? Sure.
The original House Bill 162 was geared toward 4th through 8th grade students. That was that's where the intended focus would be. Early in session, we had a hearing for discussion only. I got a tremendous amount of feedback from teachers and educators, and they consistently said that we understand. The reason for that, I didn't want to overload teachers who are already going through the reading for K3, but they said you have to start at kindergarten with those foundational skills. So that is the reason we started at kindergarten. Now, I did put a floor amendment on in the House so that the professional learning that would take place, the coaching models, is now for K through 8th grade teachers. So they're able to get that. But as far as the screening, the diagnostic assessment, we're starting out at K through 3. It'd be my hope and goal that as that takes place, that takes shape, as we have the capacity, maybe more funding in the future, that we could expand that to higher levels of the grade. But I understand your question.
And Chair Tipton, there are no more questions. I'll make a comment and you can react to it. Is it also your opinion that we want to give KDE and the education system a chance to put these changes into place, and the ultimate goal is to go on up the ladder to middle school and even high school level with looking around the Southeast, especially what other states have done? Is that the eventual goal?
I think that's a very accurate statement, Mr. Chairman, and we're trying to get those foundational skills in our young students and then build on that for the future.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions on Senate Bill House Bill 162. Chair Tipton, we have a couple folks signed up to speak against, I believe. We have Brooke Vincent and Jessica Heiler, if they would step forward and speak. We've got a...
Not against.
Make sure your green light's on. Okay. We've got about 5 minutes in this segment, so if you could try to keep it into that time frame. The floor is yours. State your name for the record and proceed.
I am Jessica Heiler. I am a kindergarten teacher from Fayette County, serving as the president of the Fayette County Education Association.
Brooke Vincent, a 3rd, 4th grade teacher from Oakland Elementary, Warren County, and KEA.
So we're going to be very brief. I'm going to give most of the time to Brooke. We do want to thank the sponsor. Representative Tipton has been very open to feedback during the process, and we do think that we're getting to a good place. I think what Brooke is going to share is that we feel like we need some more time to really get it right, because we do think this is good legislation. So I'm going to let Brooke take it from here.
Yes, it's not an opposition. It's just a pause. So, Brooke Vincent from Warren County, Oakland Elementary, KEA member. This is my 21st year in education. I have taught everything now, preschool through 12th grade. I stepped out and was a middle school teacher for 12 years. They ate all the crumbs of my soul, left nothing, and I came back to elementary. And when I went back, I was like, whoa, the game has changed. And elementary teachers work harder than anyone on the planet. I will fight anyone on that. Wow. K through 3, those are the rock stars of the world. They are the ones that need to be winning the prizes for all the things. And so it's incredible what they do. I wish that everybody could take some time and spend some time in a K through 3 teacher's shoes. My favorite moments as a teacher are those aha moments. You know, whether it is the first time that a child blends a word and they realize that they're a reader, especially if they're new to the country and they have been introduced to the chaos that is the English language, and they figure out how to go from being an Afghan student to an English student and they can read a word. Wow. Or last week, my students, we incubated chicks and we watched one hatch in our classroom, all of us together. That was incredible. Those are the moments that we live for as a teacher. Now, the moments that I don't love and live for, those are the ones that have nothing really directly to do with the students. Those are the assessments, the paperworks, the meetings, the plans, and all of that. And so the plans are really what I want to talk about today. Senate Bill 162, House Bill, sorry, I'm learning still. I don't feel grown up enough to be here. I'm just saying that. Like, I keep looking at people and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm here.
I feel the same way, if it makes you feel any
it's
better.
crazy. So, okay, I'm wasting time. I've read it many, many, many times, and it's beautiful. It has the potential to take Kentucky and skyrocket us where we need to be, because we have phenomenal educators. We have phenomenal things going on, and this has the beautiful potential to do what we need it to do. But I don't know that we're ready yet, because here's what's going on with us. You know, we're not saying stop. We're not saying no. We're so and I don't want to use the word overwhelmed. We're learning all the things with Senate Bill 9 right now. We just got started with the reading plans, and the amount of time that it is taking for us to implement all these things with fidelity. Because, I don't know, but when you give teachers something, we follow the rules and we want to do it right because we're teaching these kids, especially these little ones, how to be learners and how to do all the things correctly. And we have to do the things correctly too. And so we're learning how to do everything. We want to implement it with fidelity. And so when we are giving those assessments, when we're doing the instruction, when we're doing the support, when we're doing the progress monitoring, when we are giving the interventions to the students, it takes on average about 10 minutes every 2 weeks per student. That's one-on-one. I have 28 students. Okay? I have 15 reading plans. Some teachers have 10 reading plans. 10 times 10 is 100 minutes of direct instruction. That's 1 hour and 40 minutes of direct instruction that I'm losing every 2 weeks just for the reading plans. Is it going to work? Is it going to be beneficial? Absolutely. I want my children to be able to read. But guess what? That's just reading. I can't double dip for math. I can't. I'll be doing an injustice to my students if I do that. So when we add math, and I know it's 26-27, I know I've still got some time, but those kids are still going to come in with deficits. Those K through 3 kids are still going to have deficits. I'm still going to have a high number of kids, especially where I'm at. It's low income. It's very transient. It's high population of EL. I'm still going to have that. So I'm losing all of that instructional time, direct instruction, 140 minutes every 2 weeks. I've got to figure out, I've got to be really good at classroom management. I've got to figure out how to keep all those little bodies busy while I'm doing that, because it has to happen during the instructional day while I'm teaching everybody else how to make up, how to compensate for that direct instruction I've lost just for reading. Okay? I'm doing it because I want to, and it's going to work. It is working. We've got kids rolling off of plans. But then they test again later on, and Mama yelled at them before they walked out of the house, and they roll back on. That's part of it too. So that's what's hard. And that's why I'm afraid that we're just not ready yet. I've completely squirreled off of what I've wrote down. I'm sorry. The other thing is,
Just
it's brand new.
About 1 more minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We are still in the early stages. It's pilot time. Not everybody's done this. So I'm talking to people across the state, and they're like, why are you so worked up over these plans? I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about? They're not doing it yet everywhere. Warren County is a pilot county. We jump in everything with both feet. So we're doing it. Not everybody else is doing it. They don't know to go, whoa, what's a math plan? What's that going to be? And so everybody needs to make sure that we all have our ducks in a row. We all know everything that's going on. So I think that this is beautiful. I think that the math idea is wonderful. Our kids need it. There's no doubt that they need it. But to put it in the same bracket as the reading plans, K through 3 teachers, the same set of children, the same position, it's a lot. It's scary, the amount of time that it's going to take for your teachers, the amount of time it's going to take for your students, away from your students. Imagine your child in that classroom, losing that direct instruction. It's a lot. It's scary. I'm afraid of the teachers we're going to lose. I'm afraid of what we're going to lose for our kids. We're just not ready yet. So if we can take that yet, give it a pause, let us work some of these details out so that it can just be a stronger thing a little bit further down the road, I think it would be more meaningful, more impactful, and it would give Kentucky the opportunity to really skyrocket the way we need to.
Thank you so much for
Thank
those
you.
excellent comments. Chair Tipton, would you like to respond first, and then we will go into questions?
Sure. And I appreciate those comments. We met in my office and talked for quite a while earlier. And as I mentioned earlier, the original bill said 4th through 8th grade. And you brought teachers in my office and insisted we had to start at kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to the teachers.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And we changed it to K3. I understand those concerns. And I'm open to suggestions or ideas or discussions. Originally, we said we didn't want to overload the teachers because of the reading. Then we were told, Well, we got to start in kindergarten. But I think one thing is for sure, we have to start somewhere. Because if we don't start now with a plan, we'll never get there. So that's just what I like to share about that.
Senator Neal.
Mr. Chairman, I'm almost afraid to ask a question. I guess everybody likes it. The question is how you get there, and I'm wondering if Representative Tipton, whether or not a mechanism in there that would enable that decision making be processed to a point where it could be evaluated. And
The original bill called for implementation of the screeners, the assessments, the intervention 1 year earlier. And when we did the committee substitute in the House, we pushed that out 1 year to the 26-27 school year. Again, it's the options are you push that out a little further. Again, we're delaying them. You're getting the professional learning. You're getting hopefully high quality curriculum in the classroom in the interim. Another option is we start 4th through 8th and get that rolling, like Senator Titchener talked about, and then later on go back and start at kindergarten. But again, I followed the advice of the teachers who came to see me. So I'm open to discussions. I'm open to any ideas or suggestions from the committee.
thank you.
Senator Tishner will have to be the final word on this.
Thank you guys so much. I love hearing what it's like for you all on the ground and with the kids. That's so valuable for us. I spent a little bit of time teaching in private, but not at that grade level. And I see a lot of teachers in the room who are shaking their heads. I had a discussion with one of my school board members, and they cautioned and asked if we could remove some of the burdens we as legislators place on the teachers. And I said, please send me a list. We would like to take that off of you all. And I think, our goal, of course, is we want students to be reading successfully. We want them to be able to do math successfully. We want them to have the skills they need to be successful. And that's where our focus is in every piece of legislation that I personally look at, that I'm wanting, to increase our scores across the state, because that helps everybody. It sets them up for success in the future. But if there's areas that you're bogged down as a teacher because of something we're putting on you, I want to know that. So I'm just going to ask you personally, will you send me an email?
Absolutely.
And let me know what those things are, and if we can peel back some of those burdens for you so that you can focus on these fundamental core subjects that are just crucial for our kids. We want to do that. And I can guarantee all of us up here would want to do that as well. But thank you so much for your testimony.
And
Mr. Chair, if I could add one thing, in the House Education Committee, we passed out a concurrent resolution called the Red Tape Reduction Task Force to identify areas of red tape and burdens that could be removed off teachers. So maybe leadership will decide to do that in the interim.
Senator Carroll's got a real tight question. We got to keep moving.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From your experience, how important is early childhood education in helping students get ahead of what you all are talking about?
it is so important. If we can get the kids in preschool, if we can get the kids, coming to us, the earlier the better. But where we are at, our school districts are our districting is so messed up. The transient population is so messed up. I literally had a child that showed up last year. The whole family didn't have shoes on because they just came to Kentucky from one of the little Micronesian countries, and they didn't know that they needed to wear shoes, and they just rolled into the school, and here they were. They had no idea. And so, it's so weird to think that where we're at has become such a hub of a mix of different populations of people. So we have people that just show up on the first day of school. We don't have any idea what our enrollment at Oakland is going to be like until 3 or 4 days into the school year. And so you think you're going to have 2 kindergarten classrooms, and then all of a sudden school starts and it's like, oh, wait, we have 3. And these kids didn't even know that they were coming to school until they saw a school bus roll by and mom and dad stuck them on it. who are these kids? And so that's something that we're really going to have to work on and target, because there's no idea for a lot of these children about what school even is, let alone I need to know colors and shapes and how to interact with others and how to be a student. It's so overwhelming because it's not just the education that we have to provide them, it's all of the things.
So the early childhood experience is every bit as important as K through 12.
Absolutely.
No-
Absolutely.
No other questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. That will be the end of this segment. Good discussion.
Thank you so much.
Seeing no further questions, is there a motion on the bill from anyone? Okay. Senator Thomas has the motion. Senator Givens has a second. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll,
Aye.
Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Givens, Senator Higdon,
Explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo Senator Tishner and Representative Tipton's comments about focusing on removing the red tape and the burden that we place on teachers, and look forward to working on that during the interim and hearing from hopefully a work group and the teachers about things we could do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Meredith,
Explain my vote, Mr.
Please
Chair.
proceed.
I vote yes, and I'm very encouraged to hear about the task force, Chairman Tipton. It's something I asked former Commissioner Glass to do, I think his second year that he was in office, and I really appreciate the testimony of the educators today. We've got to be listening to these people. They are the boots on the ground. We know we can make their life easier, so I'm very encouraged. I know you'll give due consideration to their concerns about this particular bill, because that's the kind of person you are, but again, just very encouraged that we're going to get this task force, and we need to make it a priority for this next session as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Neal,
I explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
I think this is very important. I'm glad you brought this forward. I think you can work out the other stuff in between, but this is a significant move. Thank you for it.
Senator Stivers, Senator Thomas, Senator Tishner, Senator Williams,
Like to explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
We got to get started, and we have to get serious about taking the paperwork burden off of teachers. And not just that, about the other things that they are required to teach in the classroom that really aren't reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'm fully support getting back to these basics, particularly for these levels, but if we need money, it's the university programs that are not teaching the teachers how to teach reading, writing, arithmetic in a performance-based way. And they're taking their money, and we're wasting that money. Let's take some money from there, and let's fund these teachers who are really on the front line. So I vote aye, and looking forward to moving forward with this task force.
Senator Wilson,
Explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend our teachers that showed up today to testify, especially Warren County, where I live. A lot of people don't realize that Warren County schools, 28% of the population are EL students. And so I commend you for what you do and what you have to deal with there. We are a refugee center just like Louisville, the only two places in the state of Kentucky. And those kids, like she said, they just show up. I think they've had 200 since January just show up. And so it is important, but we need a lot more support, especially in EL in the SEEK. So anyway, I vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Wise,
Aye.
Chair West.
I'd like to explain my aye vote like everybody else. I proudly vote aye for this bill and applaud the work that you've done on this bill. Just want to let the teachers that spoke know that we heard your concerns, and like we hear all the time here, we'll be back here in 10 months. So don't worry, we'll be back before this starts the implementation process. We'll have the whole interim to discuss the issues that you brought up, but I vote aye. House, I keep wanting to say Senate, I apologize, Chair Tipton. House Bill 162 passes with favorable expression unanimously. Is there a motion for consent? We have a motion from Senator Wise. I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. On consent.
Thank you.
Next up, House Bill 825. And I'll warn you, Co-Chair Tipton, we're short on time.
I will,
so if
I
you
will
could take
try
off.
and be as brief as possible. I'm just going to make one opening statement. I believe as members of Kentucky General Assembly, we have an obligation and a responsibility to the citizens of Kentucky to continually review and vet the agencies of the Kentucky state government. The Kentucky Department of Education is one of the largest and most important agencies of state government. It affects the future of our children's education. House Bill 825 would call for a special examination of KDE and other related entities of KDE by the state auditor's office. Part of their mandate is to assess.
We have a motion. We have a second on House Bill 825. Any further questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Senator Carroll. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Stivers. Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to briefly explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
Thank you. They're getting ready to hire a new education commissioner. It just makes sense to me to do the audit at the time that you're hiring a new commissioner, so that whatever problems exist, you can give the new commissioner a chance to clean those up at the very beginning. That just makes a lot of sense to me to do it all at the same time. So that's why I'm voting aye.
Senator Tishner. Senator Williams.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Chair West.
Aye. HB 825 passes unanimously.
Motion for consent. Second.
We have a motion from Senator Wilson for consent, second from Senator Williams. All those in favor of consent say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. House Bill 825 is on
Thank you,
consent.
Mr. Chairman and members.
That's a good place to be. Thank you. Up next, we have HB 300, Representative Kleins, an act relating to the profession of education. State your name for the record. The floor is yours. Please proceed. Representative Kleins, you got it. We have about 10 minutes in this segment. We do have someone to speak against, I believe, which will give them 3 or 4 minutes. So you probably got 5 to 7 minutes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Sorry, Representative Kleins, if you could pause there. Do you want us to adopt the sub?
Yes.
Is there a motion on the sub? We have a motion. Second. We have a second. All those in favor of adopting the sub say aye. Aye. No. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Sub is adopted. Floor is yours with sub adopted.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm Representative Mike Kleins, District 68. I'd like my guest to introduce himself.
Yes, Randy Poe, the Executive Director of the Northern Kentucky Education Council, also a KBE board member, but I'm not serving in that role today. I need stated for the record. And former superintendent of Boone County Schools.
So first, a little about my background. I was a high school principal for 5 years and a superintendent for approximately 12 years. I have numerous practitioner experiences dealing with teachers who were in the wrong and teachers who were wronged. So first, regarding House Bill 300, please note it provides language about the deferral of certain investigations. So in cases involving a criminal investigation or the allegations of child abuse, dependency, or neglect. Overall, House Bill 300 is essentially a Bill of Rights for educators. It safeguards their due process. It helps make certain that professional school personnel will be treated fairly, professionally, and in a timely manner when they have a complaint filed against them with the Educational Professional Standards Board, EPSB. Some of House Bill 300's technical provisions, and these are provisions resulting from meetings with the Kentucky Association of School Superintendents, the Kentucky Association of School Administrators, the Attorney General's Office, the Northern Kentucky Ed Council Leadership, the Kentucky Education Association, the Kentucky Department of Education, and numerous teachers and administrators. House Bill 300 introduces timelines for when specific steps in the disciplinary process must be concluded. Timelines are in the current statute, but only for the educators, not for the EPSB staff. It requires the common courtesy of notifications from the EPSB staff to the certificate holder and superintendent as things move through the process. It requires the EPSB staff to meet in person or virtually with the educator in question prior to any recommendation being made by the staff to the board unless the educator declines. This is somewhat modeled after the Kentucky Bar Association's due process. It establishes a specific timeline for a hearing for an admonishment and allows the educator to request an expedited hearing. It requires hearing officers to be provided for requested administrative hearings. This is somewhat modeled after the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Board of Control appeal process, which I was a member of for 6 years. The current statute only allows for appeals to be filed in Franklin Circuit Court. House Bill 300 adds the option of the appeal to be filed in Circuit Court of the county where the certificate holder was employed at the time of the incident. It requires that the hearing provide all the due process rights afforded under KRS Chapter 13B, and EPSB staff shall respond to complaints against the certificate holder following the processes in the statute, not through a promulgated regulation. House Bill 300 addresses possible educator recruitment issues, but more importantly, it addresses retention issues. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent job, Representative Kleins. I apologize you drew the short straw and you were last on the docket today. Like I say, we're really tight. Before I take any questions, we have Mrs. Trueblood to speak on the bill. I said speak against. I'm not sure, but I'm sure she'll let us know here in a second if she's for or against. When you're ready, please state your name for the record and proceed. You got about 2 minutes to allow the panel to have questions.
Okay. Thank you. We would like to share some concerns today, and so I do appreciate the time from the committee to speak. The Education Professional Standards Board was created by the General Assembly to set the standards and requirements for obtaining and maintaining a teaching certificate in the state of Kentucky, and that includes taking action against a certificate when educator misconduct has occurred. Our board is made up of practicing educators. Specifically, we have 9 teacher members, 2 administrators, and 3 representatives from our post-secondary educator preparation programs. As practicing educators, they are sensitive to the rights of educators, but also hold student safety to be paramount. The EPSB has promulgated an administrative regulation, 16 KAR 1030, as well as the procedures relating to EPSB action on an educator's certification. These set the standards for the process, and both were developed after extensive stakeholder review and feedback. While neither impose timelines, throughout the process, the educator is afforded all due process rights under KRS 161120 and Chapter 13B. There is no restriction on the educator certificate until final action is taken, either through agreement of the parties or the issuance of a final order in accordance with KRS 13B. That means that an educator continues to enjoy all rights and privileges afforded by that certificate until that final action is taken. The current procedures do provide for notification to reporting parties and the educator when a case is initiated and when the EPSB takes action. The EPSB has developed an online reporting system that allows superintendents to track all complaints submitted to the EPSB, and there were 715 complaints reviewed by the EPSB in the 2023 calendar year. Some of the concerns that we shared with the House Education Committee in January have been addressed by the removal of the retroactive and emergency provisions, as well as the clarification that the timelines for complaints do not start until we've received a completed complaint. However, the concern that future matters may be dismissed for failure to comply with timelines and not based on the merits of the complaint do remain. In addition to the timelines, the bill creates the ability for an applicant or certificate holder to request an expedited hearing. This would allow an educator to request an expedited hearing when they know that a student victim is going to be unavailable as a means of avoiding accountability. The imposed timelines do not account for the limited staffing resources to review and prosecute all complaints or the unique circumstances of each complaint that is received. The bill would place additional administrative burdens without providing resources. Currently, the EPSB meets every other month, but these timelines will require them to meet every month, meaning that the educators will be pulled from the classroom more during a time of a substitute teacher shortage. The majority of the over 43,000 educators in the Commonwealth are good and ethical teachers who will never have a case before the EPSB. Those who do should be ensured of a thorough review and investigation of all allegations before them. Students and parents should be confident that a process exists to investigate all allegations and take action when warranted, not fear that allegations are dismissed based solely on timelines. The measures before you fail to elevate the profession by ensuring thorough review and investigation, but instead create pathways for bad actors to escape accountability due to timelines that don't allow for the full process.
Thank you so much. We have one question, Senator Thomas, if you can make it real tight.
I will make it real tight. Ms. Youngblood, I just don't understand. I'm a lawyer. I just don't understand why, if a teacher's required who hires a lawyer to meet tight timelines, a certain time to file a complaint, a certain time to provide discovery, and if they don't meet those tight timelines, then they lose the right to challenge a hearing. If the teacher's required to make tight timelines or meet tight timelines to pursue their appeal, then why shouldn't the Educational Professional Standards Board have tight timelines as well to issue a decision? It just seems fair to me. Otherwise, the teacher's just out there hanging indefinitely, reaching a decision, and that's not right either.
The teacher does have a timeline of 30 days to provide a rebuttal. The board's process is that we do grant requests for extensions when those occur. At any point through the process, they do have the ability to provide additional information. During the hearing process, those are governed by 13B, and there are timelines that both parties have to apply to. If we want to appeal a final order, that would still have to follow those timelines as well.
Thank you. We have a motion on the bill from Senator Wilson. We have a second on the bill from Senator Williams. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Funke Fromeyer. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Stivers. Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams. Senator Wilson. Senator Wise.
Aye.
Chair West.
I was like, we're just gonna follow you like little ducklings.